to have stemmed from a family dispute.
And breaking news right now at 7 a.m. Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. Jackson's family says he died peacefully this morning.
Roseanne Tejas is live with their full statement. Good morning to you, Roseanne.
Well, good morning. We're outside the Rainbow Push Coalition as word spreads this morning about the loss of the civil rights icon. His family releasing a statement earlier this morning that we want to share with you. It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honorable Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for freedom and dignity. Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. Well, the Reverend Jackson's health struggles had started back in 2017. That's when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. By 2021, he had contracted COVID and did end up going to the hospital. He struggled to walk and talk after that, and after some intensive therapy. He appeared in public a little less and less, and last November was hospitalized at Northwestern. By then, doctors knew he was actually battling progressive supranuclear palsy, and that's a rare brain condition with symptoms that are very similar to Parkinson's. He was moved to an acute care facility, but he did make it home in time for Christmas. Now, in January, for the very first time in 36 years, he did not appear at the Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast, another sign of his declining health. So once again, Reverend Jesse Jackson dead this morning at age 84. Roseanne Tejas, Fox Chicago.
Okay, Roseanne, thank you for the update there. Reverend Jackson, a key figure in the civil rights movement. He was inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King. They worked together for many years before Dr. King's assassination.
Our own Dawn Hasbrook has a look back at his life and legacy.
Put your hands together for our leader, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
He was a civil rights leader, a politician, and community activist. Jesse Louis Jackson was born October 8, 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina. He met Jacqueline Lavinia Brown, and they were married in 1962. Together, they had 5 children. It was in a time of civil unrest and the height of the civil rights movement.
Will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood? I have a dream.
He went to work for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was with King when he was assassinated in 1968. It was after Dr. King's death that Jackson took the reins and became known as one of the premier leaders of the civil rights movement. In 1971, he founded a group that would later be called People United to Serve Humanity, or Operation Push. In 1984, Jesse Jackson ran for the 1984 Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. He tried again in 1988 and landed in second place in the Democratic primaries, falling to then Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. Jackson transitioned his activism from protest to politics. It was at about the same time that he formed a group he named the National Rainbow Coalition, because it was made up of people from all races and ethnic backgrounds.
That is the unfinished business that I'm about, fighting for equal opportunity for all Americans and peace in the world.
Congratulations.
During his lifetime, Reverend Jackson collected more than 35 honorary degrees and was recognized over and over for his efforts to help those less fortunate. In 2017, Reverend Jackson was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but he still kept a public face. In September 2021, he and his wife were hospitalized with COVID. He had been vaccinated, she had not. It affected his Parkinson's and his ability to walk and talk, and he had to undergo intensive therapy. But before long, he was back in the public eye doing what he did best, protesting injustice and bringing attention to issues for the less fortunate. Jackson once said, "Never look down on anybody unless you are helping him up." It was a mantra he lived by, one he's inspired others to continue as he leaves a significant legacy behind that helped pave the way for the modern civil rights movement we all know today. In August of 2024, the giant in the civil rights movement was honored at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
His contributions are innumerable. His impact and his work are in both places and ways that many people don't know. You know, I say it this way: his fingerprints are places where you might not have seen his footprints. His hands were all over so many things. Many people remember the auto bailout. Reverend Jackson was behind that. McDonald's expanding in African-American communities with tons of African-American owners and board seats. That's Reverend Jackson. And so many other things around the world. So glad that the DNC paused to give him his flowers that he deserves so much.
And in October of 2024, the city of Chicago that he has called home since 1966 gave him the key to the city.
And what a fitting way to wish Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson a very happy birthday, giving him a key to the city he is truly considered to be his home. I think it is entirely appropriate to give great men and great women flowers while they can still smell them.
Use love to motivate you and obligate you to serve the human family. Young America, dream!
All right, in reaction pouring in this morning, included from Congressman Danny Davis, reacting to the news of Jackson's passing. His statement in part saying, "We are saddened, extremely saddened, to hear of the passing of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Of course, we have known that he was ill for quite some time and that ultimately it would come. Nevertheless, we were hoping that he would continue to live, but the work, the spirit, what he had meant, not only to the city, the state, country, and this world will continue to live on."
And a little bit earlier this morning here on Good Day, Gabby and I spoke with Reverend Michael Neighbors with Second Baptist Church of Evanston.
He talked about the legacy Reverend Jackson left behind.
I was very, very young when Dr. King was assassinated, but one of my first memories is of Reverend Jackson, who was right there on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel when that happened. And of course, after he was such a model for those who were entering into ministry a generation later, and his model was in so many ways as a charismatic orator. He gave new life to the words, "I am somebody." He motivated an entire generation and was able to merge not only the African-American Christian faith with the current contemporary people of his day, but he was also able to do so in a way that was just endearing. He was able to put together the power and the majesty of the Black movement of the 1960s going into the 1970s like nobody has been able to do. He is going to be missed greatly, but the legacy that he leaves behind, I promise you that legacy has gone to millions and millions of African American people and also those in the United States. He's made our country a better place.
And stick with us all morning as we follow the breaking story. Saquon will join us in the next half hour from St. Sabina Church. You can also follow the story on fox32chicago.com and on Fox Local. All right, taking a live look outside now. Time for another check of your forecast.
Ooh.
Mike, I see the sun trying to peek through those clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Looks beautiful.
It is another gorgeous sunrise. Yes, there's going to be some high cloud cover out there today. I'm going to call today mostly cloudy, but you're going to see some sunshine, and I think it's going to be enough to get us back into the low 60s, except close to the lake. We're going to have a southeast wind there, and that's going to hold temperatures back. Let's see what you've got out there right now. Mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures, many areas are already in the 40s, 41 at O'Hare and Gary, 42 midway in the lakefront. Everywhere else kind of in the 30s. 35 at Aurora looks like one of the cooler spots. Likewise at Valparaiso. Today's temperature distribution will be a little bit cooler at the lakefront with the southeast wind. I think it will get above these numbers at Waukegan into the lakefront and then drop back into the 40s late this afternoon. But I'm going above what our computer model thinks. I think we can get to 62 for the high today, despite the fact it won't be as perfectly sunny as it was yesterday. Tonight, we actually have a little bit of rain on the way, not snow, but rain. Probably just after dark is when this would start. And there may be a second round of showers, wee hours of the morning, that might have a little bit of thunder mixed in. But our low temperature, our low, is going to be 50 degrees. And even warmer temperatures are on the way tomorrow. I'll show you that full 7-day coming up in just a little bit. We'll be right back.
Aurora.
Welcome back. Time now 7:12 on your Tuesday morning, and we continue to follow breaking news.
Civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson has died at the age of 84. It follows a long hospitalization late last year. Jackson had been diagnosed with a neurological disorder called progressive supranuclear palsy. He was also suffering from Parkinson's disease. Along with being a prominent figure in the civil rights movement, he was also the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition.
Also breaking this morning, a 14-year-old boy is recovering after he was shot in downtown Chicago. Police say it happened along East Washington Street. We are right now working to try to learn what led up to this shooting.
It's now day 17 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and investigators say they're working with Walmart to develop a lead. The Pima County Sheriff says the backpack this suspect was wearing is sold exclusively at their stores. Investigators are also testing DNA found on a glove near Guthrie's home.
The top three candidates in the Democratic primary race for Illinois' open U.S. Senate seat sparred over a range of issues during a primetime debate right here on Fox Chicago. Representatives Robin Kelly and Raja Krishnamurthy, along with Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, they're all running for the seat that is currently held by Senator Dick Durbin.
So each argued for raising the federal minimum wage, but there was a clear distinction on how each would do it. So take a listen.
We need to do more to raise wages to a livable wage. And let's stop talking about how to give people the bare minimum. Let's talk about how we can give people the opportunity to really thrive.
Congressman Krishnamurthy, I'll let you address the cost issue, but Lieutenant Governor Stratton brought up the minimum wage. She wants a uniform $25 minimum wage. Does that work nationwide when you've got cost of living differences across the country? And as I understand, you do also support a hike in the minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, $7.25 is poverty wages at this point. I'm actually a co-sponsor of Bernie Sanders' bill, the Raise the Wage Act, which goes to $17, which a lot of my House colleagues have supported. And, you know, many states are kind of now in that range. I, too, am concerned as a former small business person. I signed the front of the check and the back of the check, and I think that a $25 hour minimum wage could really harm small businesses and curtail hiring at those businesses. In addition, for our youth, my second job in life was working at McDonald's. I'm not sure I would have gotten that job at $25 an hour. I didn't know how to make a burger. I can make a decent one now, but at that time I didn't have the skills. Going to your other question, one of the biggest problems in the grocery and food area is a huge concentration of market power among certain large corporations. Just for instance, in the meat packing industry, there are 4 companies that control 80 to 90% of the business. In grocery and grocery store chains, I led the fight, or I helped lead the fight to basically stop the Kroger's-Albertsons merger, which would have led to increased market consolidation, higher prices, and worse working conditions. We were able to successfully stop that merger, and I earned the endorsement of the United Food and Commercial Workers 881 endorsement because of that. But we need to do more of that. We got to break some of this monopoly power that large corporations have in the food industry.
All right, Congressman.
I did want to just say something.
Yeah, Congressman Kelly, I'll get to you.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment. I've probably met with about 50 small businesses around the Chicagoland area, in and out of Chicago, and one of their concerns is if we do raise it too high, that they'll have to shutter their doors or have less people working there. They'll have to work more as the owner. But I agree. I'm saying $17 an hour because also we have to be realistic and look at what we can actually get passed, in the House and the Senate. That's part of the bottom line, too. We need 218 votes in the House, 60 votes in the Senate. But even with the $17 an hour, I would look at giving tax credits to small businesses that do participate.
All right, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, you wanted to jump in because there were some claims made about a $25 minimum wage level.
Yeah, and I think what's important to recognize is I think that bill that's been filed in the House or in Congress is for $17 an hour by 2030. And I'm thinking about people who right now, as you asked, cannot afford groceries, cannot afford to put food on the table. And we're seeing generational poverty continue because we are not taking the bold steps needed to make sure people make a living wage. And I can tell you, people can't wait till 2030. If there's going to be a $17 an hour federal minimum wage, it should happen tomorrow. But here we are talking about what might be realistic. Well, what's not realistic is expecting people to not be able to put food on the table, not being able to save for their future, not being able to give their children what they need. And I think right now, what I'm hearing from Illinoisans is they're not looking for it. Well, let's just find what seems to be the easiest thing to do. They're looking for leaders who are going to get to Washington with bold ideas and be courageous to fight for them.
Next up, the race for Cook County Board President. So join us tonight at 6 for another debate. Current President Toni Preckwinkle and her challenger, Alderman Brendan Riley, will be talking. Paris Schutz will have you covered on all of the action.
We this morning are also taking a live look at the new Ryan Field in Evanston. They are making some big time progress up there in building this almost $1 billion facility. Crews there planning to install the very first seats today. As we take a look that our drone crew is giving us high above the stadium, the future home of Northwestern football. Once the work is done, 35,000 total seats. And Mike, fair to say that arena is looking pretty good.
I was going to say, that looks very, very sharp, doesn't it? Helps that we got a little bit of sunlight beaming off there, doesn't it?
Shiny.
That's going to be great. When does Indiana play there first?
Oh,
that's
good question.
When
they're opening against the Nittany Lions, right. So we'll see if Indiana comes to town when that's happening.
Eventually, it is going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Yesterday, we had an incredible day. The old record was 58. We killed it by 7 degrees, 65 yesterday. It's rare that you get a record, period. But when you knock one down by 7 degrees, that is a real rarity. Today, no record for us, but I still think we have a 60-degree day on the way, and I realize my number's higher than what you might be seeing some other outlets. Let's go with it. Look at the weather map here. Lots of alerts for fire danger. That's what most of this stuff in pink is showing up out here because it's so windy and dry. Got wind advisories. On the West Coast, they've got flooding concerns in parts of Southern California. Wintry weather showing up in purple, but I want to zoom in here to show you it's not that far. If you took, a 5 to 6 hour drive north, you would encounter wintry weather, Rhinelander, go to the Yup, and there's a little area here along the shoreline of Lake Superior in Minnesota's Arrowhead. That's a blizzard warning, right on through Thursday. So winter, not that far away. But here, it is all about spring-like weather for the next few days. I think we can get 60-plus today, for sure tomorrow, and it's going to be real close to 60 on Thursday. We do have a little bit of rain coming in tonight, then another shower or two Thursday afternoon into the wee hours of morning of Friday, and then, yes, temperatures tail off, but this will be a brief cool down with temperatures climbing back up again next week. Gabriella, how about our traffic this morning? Sky Fox is over.
Mike, we have Sky Fox over the Dan Ryan Expressway. We're around 30 minutes from 95th to the Burn interchange. We're not following any incidents here on the Dan Ryan. Just giving you a look at the traffic. Most of your stop and go starts at Garfield Boulevard. Let's take a look at our other drive times here. Under 45 minutes on the Stevenson from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Around 45 on the Eisenhower and same on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. Please drive safe out there. We'll see you right after this break.
27th.
Welcome back. We continue to follow breaking news this Tuesday morning, the passing of civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson. He has died at the age of 84. His family says that he died peacefully earlier this morning, surrounded by family members. Jackson was diagnosed with a neurological disorder known as progressive supranuclear palsy. He was also suffering from Parkinson's disease. And along with being a prominent figure in the civil rights movement, he was also a two-time presidential candidate from the Democratic Party and also the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition. We will have more on his life and legacy, and we are doing interviews all morning with folks who worked with Reverend Jackson and are sharing their emotions and reflections on a sad day in Chicago and really around the country. Other news, Thomas Pritzker, the cousin of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, is going to be resigning as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels. This decision comes after his connection was revealed to Jeffrey Epstein. The released files show that these two exchanged at least 20 emails even after Epstein's plea deal on sex crime charges. Thomas Pritzker has not been accused, though, of any wrongdoing. He has not been named in any investigations.
A consumer advocacy group calls a spike in NIPSCO utility bill costs an affordability crisis 15 years in the making. The Citizens Action Coalition says what customers are paying right now is a direct result of not only the policies from Indiana state lawmakers, but the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. They pointed to 3 bills that became law over the past 15 years. All of them essentially made it legal for companies like NIPSCO to get reimbursed for billions of dollars for their infrastructure projects. And they got that money from the consumer.
The consumer is sort of an afterthought. It's more important to create these jobs and grow that tax base, because then everything will trickle down and take care of itself, when all we've seen happen is utility bills going up and up and up, and with no end in sight. So again, it's just time to rebalance that scale. Rebalance where the risk and the costs of this stuff goes, and take a deeper dive into the benefit analysis, if you will, of these extraordinary investments, because we're taking the food off people's kitchen tables.
The Citizens Action Coalition says state lawmakers have come to them asking for advice on what to do. They say anytime they're in public, their constituents continue to ask them when they will bring them financial relief for their high NIPSCO bills.
Outrage over a Super Bowl ad is causing the maker of the Ring camera to call off a planned partnership. It's no longer going to be collaborating with Flock Safety, which is a police security company. This technology was pitched as a way for Ring owners to find their lost pets. But the ad raised privacy concerns. Flock says it was a mutual decision to cut ties, allowing both companies to better serve customers. Mike?
All right, yesterday we had a record high. Today is not going to be a record high. However, I think we can still get to 60 plus, and the fact that sunshine is breaking out and our monitors behind me, including reflecting over the beam, I think we have a real good chance of getting there. Tomorrow, for sure, we're in the 60s. What about rain? Yeah, there's some in the forecast coming up.
At 6.
Welcome back. 7:30 on your Tuesday. As people wake up to the news of the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson, people are sharing their thoughts about Jackson, his life, and his legacy.
Well, Saquon is live at St. Sabina, which of course has been a focal point for the fight for equality in Chicago. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, as you mentioned, we are here at St. Sabina. This place alone should bring back so many memories of Reverend Jackson and, of course, the issues that he fought for here. Mainly, we talk about, kind of curbing an end when it comes to violence, but also fighting for social justice, social equality, racial equality. Joining us this morning is Father Michael Flagger. You, I know, have been so busy, and this has been such a hard morning for you and everyone else. So thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Reverend Jackson. You guys go way back. You guys have also been friends for decades. And, tell me maybe something that us in the public eye maybe didn't get to see of Reverend Jackson.
Well, I think many times they saw him so strong and so bold and so courageous, which he always was, and always so positive. But, I think that what I was, in my friendship, I was able to see the Reverend Jackson that hurt so about the conditions of people. Hurt so when he saw the children and what was their future going to be like and the injustices. When I first came to Sabina's back in '75, Reverend Jackson is one of the first to reach out and take me under his wings, really, and befriend me and mentor me and show me what it was like to fight. I was in boardrooms when he negotiated for justice and diversity. We marched together on Michigan Avenue about the violence. He stood with me on the Dan Ryan when we shut it down. We went to jail together at Fighting Chuck's gun shop in Riverdale. I mean, I could just think time after time after time. But I think most importantly, I remember the friend, how genuine he was, and what a caring person he was. That he so deeply cared about humanity and about people in general, and he really believed in the Rainbow Coalition. He really believed that black, white, and brown should come together and unite for issues of justice and peace and to care about each other. And he lived it, he spoke it, he fought for it. And I think the other thing I would say about him is his consistency. A lot of people are out there for a minute, fighting for a minute, screaming for a minute, but he was a long-distance runner. His whole life he spent doing this, and I just thank him. I think America should thank him for what he did. We're a better country because of him. We're a better world because of him, and I'm grateful for his life. I had an opportunity to go last night and pray with him and Miss Jackson while he was still with us, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
I appreciate that deep insight there. I want to talk a little bit about the Rainbow Push Coalition, obviously something he and so many people were so passionate about. Looking back now, what do you think was the biggest accomplishment for that coalition under Reverend Jackson's leadership?
Well, I don't know if I could name the biggest. I mean, I think about what he did for schools and for education, what he did to fight for equality in businesses and corporate America. I mean, when corporations got a call saying Reverend Jackson was coming to meet with them, they changed behavior. They knew that he was serious and he was committed and he was going to put a spotlight on what was wrong. So I don't know if there's any one thing. I think he took on so many issues, but certainly the violence issue was so important to him. And I think that's where we connected so much, is that he realized that this violence has to be stopped. The guns in this country that were not made, manufactured, no gun stores in the African American community, and yet that's where guns were being shoved and guns were being thrown. So I think one of the things about him, he was so comprehensive. He never had like one issue, and this is what we're going to say after. Anywhere where there were civil rights being neglected or denied, Reverend Jackson was there.
When I think about Reverend Jackson, I think about that phrase that became so popular and so symbolic, keep hope alive. How do you feel he kind of, maintained that in his final days when he was dealing with this, long-term health battle?
Well, I think watching him these last, couple of years when he first diagnosed with Parkinson's, and he said very clearly, Parkinson's doesn't have me, I have Parkinson's, and he continued to saw him everywhere in that wheelchair. Maybe some days not able to speak, not able to get up or to walk. He showed up, and he wanted everybody to know, I may have this disease, but I'm going to continue to fight. I still care. I'm still in the fight. And I think that's, his tenacity and his consistency, I think, are what we need so much today. And I think, you can hear that resonated. And there's no place you can go, I don't think, in America and perhaps around the world where some child or some adult don't hear the words, keep hope alive, or I am somebody, and not think of Reverend Jackson. He made a lot of children, I think, realize they were somebody. And he made a lot of adults, including myself, no matter what was going on, never give up hope.
I want to talk about the current state of the U.S. and maybe tell me how Reverend Jackson may have thought about everything that's playing out right now, because there is visible tension, as we've heard from lawmakers and advocates, and they've been speaking out about this. I want to hear maybe what Reverend Jackson would have thought about all of this that's playing out in their country.
Well, I think he was saddened by what we're seeing in this America right now, and I think he would also be angry what's going on, but I think most importantly, he would be engaged. Reverend Jackson was one that was made it very clear to everybody, this is not the time to roll over. This is not time to be silent, and this is not time to get overwhelmed. This is the time to fight, to resist, to be active, to speak up, to speak out, to expose every bit of this evil that's going on. There's more people of good in this country than there is those that are creating and orchestrating and pushing this evil. And I think Reverend Jackson showed us whenever we face evil, whenever we see evil, you fight it. You don't run from it. You don't run away from it. And you don't throw up your hands and give up. You fight. And I think Reverend Jackson would be continuing to do that. And if we really want to honor Reverend Jackson, that's what we got to do. If we really want to remember him, let's not say he was a great man, did a great life. No. If you honor him, then be like him. Do what he did. Fight.
Tell me really quickly about the impact here at St. Sabina. Obviously, he has been here on multiple occasions, speaking out, providing that extra support for members of this community. What does this loss mean for St. Sabina?
Well, I think for our family here, and I think the family and the community in general, is the sadness. Sadness that we lost a great lion. We lost a great leader. We don't have a lot of Reverend Jacksons around. And I think that's, the people I've spoken to this morning, that's the main thing I kept hearing, where's the next Reverend Jackson? Where's the next person that's going to take up that mantle? So I think the feeling of his loss and feeling like his presence, even when he couldn't speak anymore, just when you saw him someplace, when he came in here in a wheelchair, when he showed up and he couldn't even get out of the car to one of our Friday night marches, and all he said to the people is, keep doing this. I think that that's what we feel loss of, and also hopefully we'll feel an urgency to take up the mantle.
I was going to ask you about that exactly. What is next? What is next when it comes to the next civil rights leader or advocates? Reverend Jackson in particular has been very vocal about his support for youth, educating them and putting an end to youth violence as well. So what would be next? What do you think could be next, at least from Reverend Jackson?
Well, I think right now, the next is the now of what's going on in this country. I think what we're seeing is the unraveling of a democracy. I think he would be and has been very, very strong and bold about the voter suppression that's seeking to take place in this country right now, and the importance of people voting. He was always, I don't think everyone everywhere didn't say, register to vote if you're not registered, and vote. I think right now, those midterm elections coming up, and what we see in this country right now is that we got to make sure, one, that everybody votes, and number two, to fight and make sure this voter suppression, which is being orchestrated by this president and his administration, that we stop it and that we make sure that they cannot rob us of the right to vote and try to steal the vote from us.
Absolutely. As we kind of wrap things up here really quickly, how do you think we should remember Reverend Jackson moving forward? You talked about the ways we can honor him, but what are the ways that he would want to be remembered for?
I think for his love of people, his rootedness in his faith, and I think his willingness to wherever, you know, kind of like the old John Lewis used to say, if you see a good fight, get in it. I think he would want us to say, get in the good fight, keep fighting, keep marching, keep shouting, keep yelling, keep pushing. Justice doesn't just happen. Justice has to be created. And if we keep fighting and pushing, we'll have it. He always believed, as did Dr. King, his mentor, all the things we fight for, they're all possible. You know, it's not like, oh, we can't have that, it's not going to change. No, it's all possible, but it's up to us as to how long it takes to have it.
I know this is, you know, the news of his passing is very recent. Do you guys have any sort of, you know, plans in place to kind of honor him, remember him? Any plans to get together with his family anytime soon?
No, I mean, I'm going to see first what if his family is doing something. I've had a couple of people call this morning and say, hey, is there something we can do today or some kind of gathering? So nothing put together yet, but we're going to talk and see if there's something we should do right away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking that time to speak with us. I really appreciate it. That's Father Michael Flagler for us. Guys, I'll toss things back to you for now. Obviously, you can tell very heavy and emotional day and a huge loss to this community and for people all around the world.
Yes, thank you, Say, and thank Father Flagler for us as well. And as, you know, Father Flagler said, a lot of people are trying to put into words what Reverend Jackson meant to them and also the extensive legacy that he leaves behind as well.
Yes, we're checking in with Brian Jackson now with more. Brian.
Well, you guys, I'm live outside of the home that Reverend Jackson lived in for years here in the South Shore neighborhood. Of course, Reverend Jackson did pass away earlier this morning at the age of 84, making Chicago the home for the Operation Rainbow Push Coalition, as we've been telling you all morning about how he fought for economic justice, voting rights, and also for the opportunity for marginalized communities, not just here in Chicago on the South Side, but really all across the country. His family did release a statement a little bit earlier this morning. It reads, "It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the Honorable Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. He died peacefully on Tuesday morning, surrounded by his family. His unwavering commitment to justice, equality, and human rights helped shape a global movement for both freedom and dignity. Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked all around the world." We will have much more on the life and legacy of Reverend Jackson right here on Fox Chicago all throughout the rest of this morning. You can also follow online as well. Time is now 7:43 this morning. Checking in with Mike for a look at the forecast. Mike, definitely feels a little bit chillier out here than I expected from when we last talked a little bit earlier this morning in studio.
And you know what, Brian, things have changed a little bit. We're actually going to toss it over to break, but you're taking a live look at, yes, how beautiful it is out there looking over our city. We'll be right back after this short couple minutes.
I was 6.
what's yours.
Welcome back. The cousin of Governor J.B. Pritzker is leaving his role at Hyatt because of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Thomas Pritzker is the executive director of Hyatt Hotels. Newly released Epstein files show he was in regular contact with Epstein after Epstein had taken a plea deal on sex crime charges in 2008. Pritzker says he regrets his relationship with Epstein. He says being a good steward means protecting Hyatt.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says all of the Epstein files have been released. Over the weekend, the agency released a list of more than 300 high-profile names as well, ranging from President Trump to Vice President J.D. Vance. A letter from the Justice Department says those names appear in a, quote, wide variety of contexts. Some lawmakers are applauding the transparency. Others, though, say the DOJ is muddying the waters by lumping all the names together in a single list.
Police say a family dispute sparked a mass shooting at a high school hockey game in Rhode Island. Police identified the gunman as 56-year-old Robert Dorgan. Investigators say he shot 4 family members and a family friend in the stands at the game. 2 died, including Dorgan's wife. At least 3 others were critically wounded. Police say Dorgan killed himself. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Com.
Welcome back. 10 minutes till 8 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. We want to get a quick check of your travel times. You are at 50 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. 51 minutes is the ride time inbound on the Eisenhower from Route 390 to downtown. On the Stevenson, you're at 46 minutes from I-355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Also in the red on the Dan Ryan, 32 minutes is your inbound drive time from 95th to downtown. Metro trains are running smoothly except for on the BNSF line. Train movements are stopped after one of the trains hit a person in Westmont. Cass Avenue, the crossing there is blocked, so drivers and pedestrians need to use Fairview Avenue. Burlington Avenue is also blocked between Lincoln and Cass, and expect delays on the BNSF if you use that line, so check that Ventra app.
7:51 now. If you're a parent of an Illinois high school football player, well, your summer is about to shrink a little bit more. The IHSA says member schools have voted to move the start of practice this upcoming season to August 5th. Now, that's 5 days earlier than usual. It comes after member schools decided in December to expand the playoffs by a week. Each player has to complete 12 days on-field practice before they're eligible to compete in their first game.
A lot of our teams are putting in work and having camps and things throughout the summer, but we know that not every student athlete has that opportunity. There are students who are going to have to work throughout the summer, or who might be out of the state or out of the country or doing other things. And for some of them, it's going to be their first day, that first day of practice where they've done anything, and they may not be in shape. So that whole process just really helps them to acclimatize to the heat, as well as to the different equipment, and then just get them kind of a slow build to get ready for the season.
Expanding the playoffs also means adding extra teams. 384 teams will compete across the 8 classes, nearly 130 more than before. The fuel crisis in Cuba is getting worse. The country is forcing drivers to use a state-controlled app called Ticket to buy gas. But residents say the app is only allowing appointments several weeks or months from now, and they're only allowed to buy about 5 gallons at a time with U.S. dollars. The fuel shortage got worse last week after President Trump cut off oil supplies to Cuba and threatened tariffs against anyone supplying the island nation.
NASA will attempt a critical wet dress rehearsal, that's what it's called, on Thursday for the Artemis moon mission. The 50-hour test involves pumping over 700,000 gallons of super cold fuel into the SLS rocket to simulate a real launch countdown. Engineers recently replaced a faulty filter that stalled a previous test, and if everything goes smoothly this time, we could see that historic launch as early as March 6th.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. The Vatican is trying to make your visit a little easier. To mark 400 years since the consecration of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the Vatican will expand access to the building terrace. It is also introducing a new online reservation system to ease what can often be an hours-long wait to get into the Basilica. The Vatican also plans to have translations of the Mass in as many as 60 languages. There will also be a new permanent exhibition tracing the history of the Basilica.
All right, we are 6 minutes till 8 a.m. on your Tuesday morning. We have plenty to get to on Good Day Chicago in our next hour, including reflections and breaking developments in the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson. So stay with us.
A new bipartisan bill on Capitol Hill would create a tax credit to help companies train employees on AI. The House lawmakers who introduced it says the goal is to boost U.S. competitiveness without sidelining workers. Congress has been shifting its focus to protecting American jobs and strengthening workforce skills as the use of AI expands.
President Trump's new Board of Peace will unveil $5 billion in pledges to rebuild the Gaza Strip at its first meeting this week. President Trump also claims that member nations have committed thousands of personnel for an international police force, but did not name which countries are going to be participating in that. It will cost an estimated $70 billion to rebuild Gaza, even though no one knows who will govern that region.
A court rules that next exhibit about people enslaved by George Washington must be restored at his former home in Philadelphia. The panels honoring 9 enslaved people were removed last month following an executive order directing the Interior Department to ensure sites do not display elements that, quote, inappropriately disparage Americans past or living. The federal judge ruled all materials must be restored in their original condition while a lawsuit challenging the removal plays out.
Peanut butter products in 40 different states have been recalled after blue plastic fragments were found in a filter. This recall includes single-serve creamy peanut butter packets and peanut butter and jelly combos that were distributed by U.S. Foods and Dyma brands. Ventura Foods issued a recall last year as well, but the FDA recently classified it as Class 2, meaning that the products could cause temporary or reversible health issues.
Anderson Cooper is stepping away from 60 Minutes. The CNN anchor said in a statement to Variety that he's leaving the CBS News program to spend more time with his family.